Alrighty, so the conference final is now officially over. We will now know what the MLS Cup matchup is going to be for this year in a week time. And throughout the years, we have definitely seen some exciting conference final, but unfortunately, this year is not one of them. Yeah, it was a bit anticlimactic in terms of how both of these conference final went. But let us begin by first talk about the Eastern Conference final between Inter Miami versus NYCFC. So I said before that coming into this game, I can see this game in two ways. Either this is going to be an absolute blowout and Miami just going to absolutely destroy the NYCFC in this game because they're an absolute juggernaut right now and they're absolutely unstoppable, or the fact that NYCFC is going to do what Atlanta did last year, which they have had Inter Miami number over the years, and with them having the number, maybe they would be able to cause a major upset and pull off a stunning upset. Didn't happen. No. In fact, the first thing happened in this one where it turns out to be a blowout. Though I will say that if you actually watch this game, NYCFC was actually in this game. Like up until about the hour mark, it was only a one-goal game in this one, and they had chances to tie this game up. But how many times we said this season, when you have a chance to create big moments against this Inter Miami team, you have to bury it because we know what happened when you don't bury those chances. Miami's gonna find a way to score the goal. And in the case in this one, where once Miami got that third goal, you knew this game was over. The lights were pretty much out for NYCFC, and they absolutely cooked NYCFC late in this one as well. Now, in the first half, I thought NYCFC actually started well. I mean, I know it's crazy to believe how this game turns out, but NYCFC actually started pretty brave in this one. They're not afraid in terms of high pressing and dictate the game. Again, this is the thing that I'm kind of surprised not more teams is trying to do against Inter Miami, where don't be afraid in terms of trying to high press and win the ball back and control the game. You don't want to have Miami the one that dictate the game because that just kind of play right into the style that they want. They want to control the game. They want to do the slow build up as they always do. So when you take that away, then maybe we you can create some chances. And we've seen before when teams try to do that, it has been successful. Though in the 13 minutes, Salvetti with the game's first shot, and he had a free header here too, but he heads it right to freeze. That turns out to be a warning shot because in the 14th minute, 1 minute later, Alande would score from Busquets to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. And I know obviously Messi has got all the headlines throughout this playoffs. But how about Tadeo Alande? He has had a very, very underrated playoffs to a point where he is actually now tied with the most goal ever score in an MLS playoff history by the end of tonight, and he would definitely had a monster game in this one. Though that being said, this was very close of being offside. I mean, they didn't really check it this one, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't check it. Although at the same time, I'm not kind of surprised because after all, this is Miami we're talking about. But it was pretty close. But in the end, they said he was just onside, and just like that, Miami gets the 1-0 lead. Then they start dictate the game, and this is where if you're NYCFC, you cannot let this get out of hand because this literally play right into Miami's hand. They need to survive this pressure and not panic despite 1-0 down. That didn't quite work out because just 8 minutes later they would make it 2-0 Inter Miami as Alande would score again, this time from Alba and Busquets to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami, and it was basically a repeat of the first goal as well. NYCFC had a lot of trouble dealing with long balls early in this game, and here's another long ball comes in, and there you go. It's 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami, and I immediately wrote, yeah, let's get out of hand. This feels very similar to what we saw last time when both of these teams played against each other at Citi Field, where that game ended 4-0. Markel with NYCFC for a shot, but he hits it right to Rio Snowballs, and then Vegan had a shot that was deflected off of his own teammate and goes wide. But then in the 37th minute, a lifeline was given to NYCFC as Justin Hack would score his first playoff career goal for Morales to make it 2-1 in favor of Inter Miami. And yeah, Miami Achilles heel once again strike this team. And while I know this hasn't happened as much recently, they've definitely been much better defending set pieces compared to what we saw in the beginning of the season. Yeah, here they kind of revert back to their old form. Just terrible set piece defending. Justin Hack allowing way too much space there. Almost had a free header there. And just like that, NYCFC were back in the game. It's 2-1 in this one, and that would be the scoreline heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, Ojeda had a shot that was deflected right to Rios Novos, and I thought Rios Novos got away with this one because this was a bad back pass there from him, or a bad pass from him to his teammate, and it got intercepted. And Morales actually had a chance to hit it into the empty net, but he just miscontrolled it. Very unlike Maxime Morales, especially of the playoff pedigree that he has. And yeah, for NYCFC, again, this is an example where Miami's not going to make these kind of mistakes very often, and if you don't take advantage of it, it's going to come back to haunt you in a big way. But I also thought that once again, NYCFC started positive coming out of the restart. But again, this is where I'm thinking they need to tie this one as soon as possible because, when you have the momentum against any other team, that wouldn't be a problem in terms of finding that equalizer as quick as possible because you eventually will build that momentum and maybe that will be a way to get yourself the equalizer. Not against Miami though. Miami is a team that you simply have to take advantage of your chances when it's been given because ultimately they're going to come back into this game and ultimately they're going to score that goal to extend that 2-goal lead. Alande didn't try to go for a hattie, but he missed one in the 51st minute. Ironically, that was probably the easiest shot out of the three that Alande has hit. I mean, I feel like this was a game where we saw the Tadio Alande of the playoffs being absolutely unstoppable, and also the Tadio Alande of early season form, where yeah, he was pretty much being ridiculed by Miami fans about his bad finishing, and this was an example of it. Gustavo then struck the post, but the whistle was actually gone, or did it though? Because apparently there was some confusion there. Apparently the foul was given, and it was the right call because Rios Novo he got absolutely decked by a hack. The old saying, goalkeeper's always going to get the benefit of the doubt when the ball comes in and there's a 50-50 play. But yeah, no whistle was being blown, and there was a lot of confusion that surrounded that. But ultimately, the right call was made. The game continued to be very disjointed. So one thing I noticed about this game is that as much as I mentioned all these chances in this one, there really wasn't a lot of chances from open play in this one. A lot of these chances came from set pieces and just simple long ball. It was a very disjointed game up to this point, and I'm not quite sure that favorite either of these teams. I mean, for NYCFC, you may think that it favors them because you're stopping Miami in terms of their free flowing soccer, but at the same time, you're also destroyed it too. So yeah, you're down 2-1. You need to create some flow to try to get the equalizer, and they had a chance in the 66th minute. And this really was the moment of the game. Rios Novo absolutely robbed Fernandez, who was completely left unmarked in the back post. And the reason why I said this is the moment of the game, because 1 minute later, literally on the other end, Miami make it 3-1. It's Sabete. He scored from Messi and Alba to make it 3-1 in favor of Inter Miami. That is the 13th goal contribution that Messi has made, and he's also now tied with Reynoso in terms of playoff assists. Both him and Reynoso have 7 assists so far, and he has a chance to break that record in MLS Cup as well. He's already have the goal contribution record now extended to 13. And I gotta say, this might sound crazy, and I know some people in the comment section will not like what I'm about to say. I didn't think Messi had a good game in this one. I thought he had an off game in this one. He was definitely not his supernova self like he has done throughout the playoffs. But what was the difference for Miami in this game is the supporting cast showed up in a big way, and this is a very scary thought if you're looking at this Inter Miami team because we know Messi can do his usual things and create goal contribution even if he's not having a great game. But now imagine if his supporting cast is doing what they're doing in this one. My oh my, I honestly don't know how you can stop this Inter Miami team. I mean, they are just absolutely rolling right now, as we've seen so far in the playoffs. It's almost like, they saw what happened last year, and not only they didn't want to repeat it, but they took it personally after getting eliminated in the first round because it's been pretty much almost everyone so far in the playoffs. It's pretty much a step aside against Inter Miami because you're going to get rolled over by them if you don't do so. Falcone then had a shot that was deflected and goes high. That third goal really deflated NYCFC. I mean, you kind of had a sense that with them not getting that equalizer, especially that robbery that Rios Novos has in the 66th minute, that absolutely killed NYCFC momentum, and they haven't really created any chance since the third goal has conceded. And then late in the game, that's when not only they waved the white flag, but Miami put the afterburner. As Segovia would score from Alba to make it 4-1 in favor of Inter Miami. Just a tic tac toe play there. I mean, just a very very Barcelona tiki tacky kind of kind of play there to set it up to make it 4-1. And then just 6 minutes later, Alande completes his hat trick. He scored from Bright to make it 5-1 in favor of Inter Miami, and not only getting the hat trick in this one, but he's now tied with Carlos Ruiz with the most goal in MLS playoff history. I definitely didn't see that coming in terms of Alande potentially challenge that record. And I know there's going to be some naysayers saying that yes, Miami did play more games compared to those teams early on in the playoffs that set those records. But still, it's quite impressive that both Messi and Alande, both of them are already chasing for record. And in the case of Messi, he's already got the goal contribution record, and now really looking to try to get the assist record. And same goes for Alande. But yeah, in the end, 5-1 was the final score of this game. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 6 that NYCFC had, 6 shots on goal for the 3 that NYCFC had, 1 shots off target for the none that NYCFC had, 4 shots that was blocked for the 2 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And like I said before, if this is the Inter Miami team that we're seeing right now with how informed that they are, not only the fact that I don't think anyone can stop this team right now, but not many teams in the world right now can stop this team. I mean, this team is just hitting on all cylinders right now. And to think the fact that a couple months ago in the early part of the season when things were falling apart of this team of how things have kind of turned around and to even think the fact that usually you would have thought that maybe this team would start to get tired out because of the amount of games that they play so far this season. I mean, they play among the most games so far anybody has ever played in a single MLS campaign. But yet, the fact that they get stronger and stronger as the year goes along, and the fact that in this playoffs, besides that one slip up they had against Nashville in Game 2 in the first round of the playoff, I mean, they have just mollywopped everybody. Like there's really not a lot of team, like I said, could really beat this team right now with the form that they're in, not just in MLS, but in the world. And as much as I know everybody would love to see them fail, they're definitely not failing. I mean, it feels like they are the Evo Empire right now. They're just steaming over everyone, and yeah, it'll be very interesting to see now that they finally made it to MLS Cup. They finally achieve at least part of what their objective is this year, which is reach MLS Cup or bust. Let's see if they can finish up that task because they're about to face against a team in the Western Conference final. No, or a team in the Western Conference that made it out of the Western Conference final that is a very familiar foe to them in the CONCACAF Champions Cup round. And with that being said, let's talk about the Western Conference final that is. So the team that Inter Miami will face in MLS Cup is the Vancouver Whitecaps. And honestly, this game, unlike the blowout that we saw in the Eastern Conference Final, I did not see this coming in terms of this being a blowout. Especially, I definitely did not see this coming with the way that by the time when we get to the end of the first half, it was 3-0 in favor of the Vancouver Whitecaps. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Whitecaps in this one. Not only the fact that they pretty much won every single battle in this one against San Diego. They won the midfield battle. They won the battle in terms of getting the possession, albeit it was just by a little. But most importantly, they won the battle when it comes to star players on their both of these sides that actually showed up in this game. Because while Vancouver and their star player definitely showed up in this one, yeah, for San Diego, their star player definitely did not show up in this game. I mean, Andre Sharp probably had the worst game that he has ever had as a San Diego player in this game. And yeah, you know what they say, you just simply cannot suck when you you uh you 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 have to do it in a vital game like this. But in the first half, Vancouver definitely dictate the play early on, as San Diego was kind of forced to sit back early. So this is kind of the thing that I was thinking that wasn't going to happen. The fact that with San Diego so far this season, pretty much every single game they've been dominating the possession and have dictated the play. I didn't think they were going to do that against Vancouver. I mean, I know Vancouver is also a team that likes to have possession whatsoever, but this is kind of a concerning sign early on if you're a San Diego fan seeing Vancouver able to dictate the play, and that kind of was the case pretty much throughout the most part of this game. Though the first shot of the game did came from San Diego as Duo hits a one hopper right to Taco Cup, but then in the 7th minute on the first shot for Vancouver, it's in the back of the net. It's Brian White. He scored from Kubas and Ahmed to make it 1-0 in favor of Vancouver. Remember how I said in the preview that Brian White hasn't really had a big impact? He has definitely took that personally because he definitely had an impact in this game. And of course, it was the first shot for the Vancouver Whitecaps, but it was a self-inflicted mistake from San Diego. You just simply cannot turn the ball over in a bad spot, especially against this Whitecaps team, especially in a game like this where you knew that coming into this game the margin was going to be far in between in this one between both of these teams, but just to give the ball away cheaply like that and let Vancouver capitalize on that. I mean that you just kind of had a sense from the beginning that things were not going to go well for San Diego, and that kind of amplified just 4 minutes later when Sisiaga would score an own goal in this one. This all happened when Ahmed had a shot that was deflected. It was kind of a little unfortunate because Sisiega actually think he actually saved this one originally, and then there was like a pinball action in the box, and it kind of came off of Sisiega last, and he puts it into his own net. So very unfortunate moment, but it kind of was the theme for San Diego in this one. What wasn't it? 2-0 down, just 11 minutes into this game. A nightmare start for San Diego, and that crowd at Snapdragon Stadium that was so electric in the beginning of the game. Yeah, it pretty much was quiet down for after that, and really quiet down as the game goes along as well. Besides that one moment when they got a goal back. Bombino did look to answer, but he missed wide from long range before Berhalter would hit one right to Sisiega. There was a huge shout for a penalty for San Diego, not given. San Diego was clearly losing the press battle. So again, this was a game where you just had a sense that whoever is going to potentially win this game is going to win the press battle and win the battle in terms of always winning the second ball and getting the ball back first. And so far, up to this point, Vancouver was the team to do so. Every time when they tried to get the ball back, they were there to do it first. And when San Diego tried to press and win the ball back, it was not successful whatsoever. And again, the other thing that, as I mentioned, they were not winning the second ball whatsoever. When you do that, that is a recipe for disaster when you're faced against the Vancouver Whitecaps. There was another shout for a penalty for San Diego not given. Pellegrino would then had a shot that was deflected and clipped off the post. I thought San Diego did start to gain some steam a little bit, trying to get themselves one back. But then in the second minute of stoppage time, this was an absolute killer blow for San Diego. I mean, one of the things you just simply cannot do when you're already down 2-0 in the game is concede the third goal, especially right on the stroke of halftime. And it happened here as Brian White would score his second of the game from Ahmed to make it 3-0 in favor of the Whitecaps, and the 32,000 inside Snapdragon Stadium, they were in stunned silence. Oh, by the way, Kubas also got the secondary assist in terms of that as well. But yeah, you can hear a pin drop inside Snapdragon Stadium. Besides the celebration crowd from the Vancouver fans, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone at Snapdragon is actually stunned silence. Like this is something that they're not used to, and that they basically just got absolutely outplayed in the first half. So we go to the second half with Vancouver with a 3-0 lead, and in the second half, Vancouver kind of continue to dictate the game and continue to approach the game that you would expect Jasper Sorensen want his team to do, which is simply they're not gonna let San Diego a sniff in this game. They controlled the possession. San Diego was just chasing shadow. Though in the 61st minute, there were a slight glimmer of hope when Tricky Lozano would score from Verskov to make it 3-1 in favor of Vancouver. It also was a pretty fortunate goal as well. One of the rare time when San Diego actually had luck that goal on their side in this one. But yeah, that made it 3-1. The crowd was starting to get back into this one. And then this was kind of an interesting decision by Jasper Sorensen. So he decided to sub out Thomas Muller in this one, and again, just really strange to do so, considering Muller has just been a big presence when it comes to not only the midfield feel for this Vancouver team and controlling it, but also just a leader on the pitch as well. But hey, if you're gonna sub out your star player, Ryan Gaul is not a bad replacement, and it turns out it actually worked out in the end for Vancouver because Ryan Gaul kind of did his thing and was probably a little unlucky not to get a goal himself in this one. Sabi did look to answer, but he was clear off the line by Dua in the 62nd minute. I thought the Whitecaps responded well, and this is when you know that the Vancouver Whitecaps this season is a team that is not only well coached, but it looks like a team that could definitely be a team of destiny. Because normally when you see a team even when they are up 3-0, we've seen before where teams absolutely collapse. You don't see that happen with the Vancouver Whitecaps. This is a very well coached team where they know that they've been through this adversity. In fact, I think for this Whitecaps player, this adversity of them giving up a goal and letting San Diego kind of back in the game is kind of child's play before. This felt pretty easy for them to just completely take that crowd out of the game and start to regain that possession and take the steam out of the crowd. Ahmed would then cross it wide from close range. Oh, they did do a brief check around the 72nd minute to see whether or not if Dwyer commits a violent contact on Cabrera with a low kick out. VAR says no, no. And by the way, that would be the only time I would mention Dwyer's name on this board. That just shows you how much of a non-factor he was in this game. And as I said, this was arguably the worst game that Anders Dwyer has played in this one. And you got to give a lot of credit to Vancouver as well. They did a good job in terms of not allowing him going forward. He was sitting very deep in this one. I was seeing him in position that is kind of like deep in the midfield. That is something you just don't want your creative number 10 to make. But that also is kind of almost in some way forced because Vancouver was winning all the midfield battle and winning all the second ball as well, and San Diego just really had time to get themselves the ball and really trying to set up the place for Dwyer to do his magic. But in the 79th minute, well, if him wasn't over already, this pretty much confirmed it. So Sisiega gets a dog so in this one. Just no need for him to come out off his lines there. That was a moment of madness for him, and that just kind of sums up the night for San Diego. For Fury would subbed into this one as Pellegrino was sacrificed as a result. The post would deny goal, but it falls right to Ahmed who puts that one over. Yeah, Ryan Gold would want to have that one back. I mean, that was an absolute sitter in the back post. And again, the replacement of Thomas Muller for Ryan Gold, that actually turns out to do well, which even though I kind of still question it a little bit because when you're 3-0 up like that, you don't really need to bring another attacker for your star midfield, that is. But I guess in the end, I think Jasper Sorensen didn't want to take chances. Maybe he wants to give Ryan Gold uh, some moment and maybe get his confidence back as well. It's been a long road recovery for Ryan Gold. You clearly see that he's still not 100% sharpness when it comes to his form, and I think it's going to get better, especially next season when he get a full preseason to get his form back to form. Verskov would then heads it wide in the back post before Dwyer had a shot that was deflected right to Takaoka. So remember how I said that's the only time I mentioned Dwyer in the 72nd minute? I take that back. He did had an opportunity that in the 86th minute, but that was his best opportunity. That just shows you how much of a non-factor he was in this one. Though Takaoka would then absolutely rob Dua, but it wouldn't have counted because the whistle already gone because the corner that was delivered went out of play. San Diego, to their credit, they're not giving up. I thought maybe Vancouver started to sit back a little bit too much and maybe just kind of put their foot off the gas a little bit too much because again, even though it's free one, we've seen some crazy thing happen in MLS before. Takaoka then denied Verskov on the doorstep of goal, and yeah, in the end, Vancouver is moving on into MLS Cup. They win this one, and really just an absolute shocking performance when it comes to or a shocking outcome in terms of how this game would turns out. I did not expect the fact that Vancouver was going to be able to walk into Snapdragon Stadium and get a pretty easy victory. And I mean, I know San Diego this season they've had their issue at times this year at home, but man, I mean this was a combination of Vancouver really wants to get themselves to MLS Cup and wants this one more, and a combination of San Diego again. This is arguably one of the worst games that they played this season, and unfortunately, in a single elimination game like this, in a big vital game like this, you simply cannot suck when there's a time you just can't suck, and that's kind of the case in this one for San Diego. The shots in this one, 12 shots for both of these teams, 4 shots on goal for the 8 that Vancouver has. Both teams have 3 shots off target, 5 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that San Diego has in this one. And by the way, somewhere in Chicago, I think Fire fans are still celebrating the fact that they still remains the only MLS expansion side to make it to MLS Cup and win the whole thing back in 1998. But still, despite this performance by San Diego, there's no shame in terms of how they've done this season. This is going to go down as one of the most memorable expansion season we've ever seen in MLS history. San Diego, this is by far the furthest we have seen an expansion team has gone through, besides the '98 Fire team that won it all in their expansion season. And I even argue the fact that I feel like this is maybe even a little bit more impressive than even the '98 Fire MLS Cup win in their expansion season. And I know Fire fans are going to be under fire by saying that, no pun intended, by the way. But with the way how competitive nowadays compared to the early days of MLS, I mean San Diego has no shame on themselves in terms of how this season gone well. Now it's going to be interesting to see how they'll build in the second season because again that's going to be the biggest challenge I think you got to say about the San Diego team, the fact that they have such a successful first season, they exceed all sort of expectation. How is that going to be continuing the second year? I mean, they definitely don't want a sophomore slump. They do not want to fall in the same victim problem that St. Louis fall themselves in, where St. Louis had an incredible first season, and then yeah, the second season syndrome happened, and they never came back from that as a result. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it. And by the way, with the way that because we're gonna have an MLS Cup between Inter Miami versus Vancouver Whitecaps, guess what? For the first time in this channel's history, and I don't know if I'll ever repeat this feat, and I simply cannot believe I did this, especially with the way how bad my prediction has been with both the table and also the bracket. I predicted this matchup. Go back to that video back in October when I fell out the bracket, and you definitely see the evidence. The fact that I predicted that Inter Miami was facing against the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, granted, yes, there were also a lot of teams that I predicted to make it far that didn't make it, like the Chicago Fire. I predicted them making to the Eastern Conference Final. That obviously didn't happen. But hey, at the end of the day, I don't care in terms of other prediction. The fact that I was able to predict this MLS Cup final back in October. I mean, I'm just gonna take a victory lap in terms of that. Though again, we'll see whether or not if I will be the ultimate prediction genius by saying that the Vancouver Whitecaps will win it all, because I did predict the Whitecaps was going to edge out Inter Miami in the final, and I guess we'll find out in about a couple of days, and we'll definitely do a couple of video leading up to this MLS Cup. I mean, this is going to be a very fascinating MLS Cup. Not just the fact that it is a rematch of what we saw in the semifinal of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but also the fact that you kind of had a sense that revenge is on the mind of these Inter Miami players. They definitely want some revenge after what happened in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinal, and we'll see whether or not that's going to be the case in a week time. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these conference final. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.